Use the definition to find the derivative of f of x equals 2x minus 3x to the fourth, then evaluate f prime of negative 1. The first thing to do is write down the definition of the derivative. F prime of x equals limit as h goes to 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. The next thing to do is to formulate what f of x plus h is. That means to take the f of x and replace each of the x's with x plus h. So instead of 2 times x, we will have 2 times x plus h. Instead of a negative 3x to the fourth, we will have a negative 3 x plus h to the fourth. And then from this, we subtract f of x. Now be sure to put f of x in parentheses, always for the subtraction, because we need to take the opposite sign of every term making up f of x. All of that is over h. Right now we have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form, and we will continue to have that until we can factor an h out of the numerator and cancel with the h in the denominator. To be able to get an h to factor in the numerator, since we have power functions, we're going to FOIL out, distribute, combine like terms. That'll be our next step. So f prime of x equals limit as h goes to 0 of, distributing the 2x plus 2h, and then I have negative 3 times x plus h to the fourth power, which means I have 4 x plus h's multiplying each other. And then I have a negative, which will distribute into a negative 2x and a positive 3x to the fourth. All of this divided by h. Now, to handle that x plus h multiplying itself 4 times, I'm going to pair off 2 of them with each other and FOIL it out, and the other 2 and FOIL it out, which will give the same result since they were both x plus h times x plus h. So let's start by doing that. So we have limit as h goes to 0 of 2x plus 2h minus 3 times x plus h times x plus h. That will give us the first x squared outside, x times h inside, h times x. Those add together into 2 h times x. And then last, we have h times h, which is h squared. Well, once again, we have an x plus h times an x plus h, so let's go ahead and write that as the same result. That's how we pair them off. Now, we will have those 2 multiplying each other, and we will have to FOIL that out, but that'll be our next step. We have a minus 2x, and we have a positive 3x to the fourth to finish it off, and all of this is divided by h. Our next step is to now FOIL out those 2 quantities with each other. So we will have f prime of x equals limit as h goes to 0 of 2x plus 2h minus 3 times whatever result we get by FOILing this out. Now this is 3 terms multiplying 3 more terms. 3 times 3 is 9. We're going to get a total of 9 terms here. In order to do this methodically, let's just take the first term, x squared, and multiply it times each of the terms in the other expression. X squared times x squared, that's x to the fourth. X squared times 2hx, so I'm taking this now and timesing it by 2hx there, and that's going to be a 2hx cubed. And then x squared times h squared, now I'm taking this and multiplying it with that one, and that's going to be a h squared times x squared. Okay, so there's the first 3 terms. Now I'm going to take the 2hx and multiply it, so I'm going to take it times x squared. So I have a plus 2h x cubed. Then I'm going to take it times the 2hx, and that'll give us a 4h squared x squared. Then I'm going to take it times that h squared, which is going to be a 2h cubed x. So there's the next three terms. And then last, I'm going to take this h squared times this x squared, plus h squared x squared. I'm going to take the h squared times the 2hx, so that's a plus 2h cubed x. And then I'm going to take the h squared times the h squared, so I will have h to the fourth. And then close the parenthesis. We have a negative 3 that will distribute into all of those. And then we have the negative 2x and the positive 3x to the fourth. All of this is divided by h. Our next step is to distribute the negative 3n, and that will give us a 2x plus 2h, negative 3x to the fourth, negative 6h x cubed, negative 3h squared x squared, negative 6h x cubed, negative 12h squared x squared, negative 6h cubed x, negative 3h squared x squared, negative 6h cubed x, and then a negative 3h to the fourth. And then we have the negative 2x and the positive 3x to the fourth. All of this is divided by h. And now we can combine together any like terms. Any terms that don't have an h in them, when combining, should combine with an opposite sign and cancel out. For example, this 2x, the very first term here, this 2x here will cancel with the negative 2x, the second to last term. The third term, negative 3x to the fourth, will cancel with the last term, 3x to the fourth. Those were the terms that didn't have h, and they should always cancel. We should have just h terms left over here. And the h terms that are left over, we can combine like terms together. There will be some like terms in there. So f prime of x equals to limit as h goes to 0 of, let's see if we can find any like terms. Well, there's a 2h that doesn't have any other like terms, so we'll just write that one down, 2h. As far as the hx cubed, there are two of them. There's this one, and then there's this one. So let's combine those together, and that will give us a negative 12h x cubed. H squared x squared, I actually have three of them, it looks like. I have here, here, and here. Let's combine all three of those together. Negative 3, negative 12, which is negative 15, and then yet negative 3 again, which is negative 18. H squared x squared. And then I have two h cubed x terms. There's this one here and this one here. Negative 6 and negative 6 is negative 12. H cubed x. And then I also have a negative 3 h to the fourth. There is only one h to the fourth term, so I will just write that one down. That accounts for everything, and then divided by h. There's an h in every term as expected. And we can now factor the h out so that we can cancel. Remember, we will have 0 over 0 until we do this step, factoring the h out. That'll give us a 2 minus 12 x cubed minus 18h x squared minus 12 h squared x minus 3 h cubed. Just be sure to take an h away from each of those. All over h. These h's can now cancel, and we now no longer have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form. Let's just recap what we have left over. So we have 2 minus 12x cubed minus 18hx squared minus 12h squared x minus 3h cubed. We can put a 0 in for all of the remaining h's, and that will make 2 minus 12x cubed, and the remaining 3 terms will all become 0 when h is a 0. Well, there's our derivative. That's our function. That is the derivative. The only thing left to do is to evaluate this at -1. So we can plug in -1 in for the x, and we will have 2 minus 12 times -1 cubed. -1 cubed is -1 times -1, which is +1, but then times one more -1, which goes back to a -1. A -12 times a -1 is a +12. 2 plus 12 is 14.